Hey everybody, and welcome to the final part of the Dynamite Dunes Park playthrough. Now, in the last episode, we ended up making a bit of a mine town sort of theme area with a miniature car ride, a Ferris wheel, a log flume, another couple flat rides, and also the big suspended swinging coaster, which takes up the majority of that big dune, kind of on the right of the park as you walk in. So yeah, I was very happy with the suspended swinging coaster. I think that's one of my more favorite coasters that I've built. So yeah, I was pretty happy with how the park was progressing. We'd actually used pretty much all the original allocation of land in the park. So we do purchase a bit of land in this episode just to kind of give ourselves a little bit more space and kind of really flesh out the area around the Dynamite Blaster coaster. To start off with, I built a bit of a plaza around Dynamite Blaster just because I thought that would be a nice little bit of realism, I guess. I think most major coasters in theme parks have some sort of plaza. I don't know if it's most coasters, but like certainly quite a few that I've seen. And especially, I thought I had to do this for Dynamite Blaster because it's kind of, I don't know, an iconic ride, so I wanted to build out something nice there. Plus, there's not a whole lot of space for rides or anything, so yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking there. The theme that I'm kind of sticking with for the rest of the build is kind of along the lines of what we've already done with the mining town, but more focused on maybe a western theme. Lots of the rides that I'm building have names kind of relating to Dynamite Blaster, so some sort of like explosive device or just related to dynamite, I guess. So so that's kind of what I was thinking there. So to do that, we start off by building the top spin, which I ended up calling Detonator, which was an awesome suggestion from Ryan M in a couple episodes ago. So thank you very much for that. Thought that fit pretty well with that sort of ride, and hopefully the color scheme I picked is kind of appropriate towards that. I build out the kind of start of a main street. I would like to have built maybe a double path in this section, but that's never a good idea in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. So the thing I did was just build two single pathways sort of next to each other, which I ended up filling with like some shops and stalls and a couple RCT1 style buildings. I then built a relatively small go-karts track, which is something I don't really do that often. I feel like the go-karts are kind of one of the more overrated rides of RCT. Like, they can be pretty fun to watch just because it's kind of a bit random and it's not just the same as watching a coaster train go all the way around. But in terms of their throughput and profitability, it's generally on the lower side, especially throughput. You can actually charge quite a bit for ride tickets, but having said that, I did have a lot of fun building out this track. I kind of wanted it to wrap around that small dune, just kind of at the end of the main pathway there. I ended up calling the go-karts the Dune Buggy Cup. It was kind of based on a suggestion I received from Darian for the Steel Mini Coaster back a couple episodes ago. So thank you for that name suggestion. I think that worked pretty well for the go-karts. And then the next major project was, well, it's not really a major project, but it did take a little bit of terraforming to get in there, and that was the miniature railway. I was playing around with some kind of ideas off camera. I was going to build like a little, like a tiny little loop, one that kind of just went alongside itself, if that makes sense. So it would just go in a straight line, then do an S-bend, a quick turnaround, and then go kind of run parallel back on around on itself. But it just didn't look all that good, and I thought it would be a better idea to kind of have it wrapping around this this kind of western themed section and have it kind of skirt the perimeter of the pit that Dynamite Blaster's in. So yeah, I think that was a nice little bit of interaction there. Unfortunately, with the clearance checks, it actually wraps around the go-kart track there pretty well. Like, you can put the go-kart track right up in next to the miniature railway, so that was pretty handy. And like I said, I did have to do quite a bit of terraforming to kind of squeeze it in there and not make it seem too intrusive on the landscape. You can see that I did kind of bury the track in places, just one tile down, and then just raised the path one tile up. I think that looks a little bit cleaner as opposed to having the track just all on say the ground level and then raising the path to height units. I did spend a lot of time on theming for the railway and go-karts actually, just with like lots of those little pieces of the mine theming set, mostly just barrels and junk and logs and all kinds of stuff, just to make it look kind of scrapyardy, I guess. And the barrels, I was kind of, going for, they were meant to be kind of like dynamite barrels, I guess. Unfortunately, you don't get the same sort of scenery options here like you do in RCT2, but yeah, I think they serve their purpose. One thing I've kind of been neglecting a little bit is the guests' needs of food and drink. I think I had about 1 or 2 food stalls and 1 drink stall up until this point, so I really needed to get some more in there. And the little pocket in between the end of that last little turnaround of the railway and the path I think was a good little spot for a few stalls there. I also added in a path kind of around the back of Dynamite Blaster, which is something I was tossing up whether to do or not. The main reason I went for it is because like Dynamite Blaster is an awesome ride. Perhaps one downside of it is that it's in a pretty awkward place compared to the park entrance, and just kind of feels like off the side of the park. So that's probably the one drawback of the ride. So I really wanted to make it feel like it was more of a centerpiece of the park. So I think putting a bit of a pathing network behind it just kind of helped with that. Oh yeah, the chairlift as well, that was another ride I could kind of just squeezed in there. It's a really small ride, but I just wanted something that went to the top of one of the dunes. So yeah, just kind of built a little bit of an awkward path up to the second station of it, but I think it turned out alright. I tried to make a bit of somewhat of a lookout platform just around the back of the chairlift, just overlooking the log flume and hopefully giving the guests a decent view of the majority of the park from there. The last kind of big project that I ended up doing was a bit of a clunky old Arrow coaster. So it's kind of inspired by I forgot the name of the coaster, but I think it might be a design that's used in multiple parks. But it's basically just like a drop, then a bit of a swooping kind of turn into a couple corkscrews, and then just a turn around into the station. It's a little bit more than that. It does do like one more kind of wrap around of itself. But yeah, I was actually very happy with how that one ended up looking, because it can be sometimes pretty difficult to make a compact looking corkscrew coaster. Although it was a bit of an investment, mostly actually due to all the land I needed to buy. I did think that the addition of a coaster out the back behind Dynamite Blaster really helped put some emphasis on Dynamite Blaster as like a centerpiece attraction. So that's kind of what I was going for there. As well as that, I didn't have a coaster with an inversion yet in the park, so I think throwing down one with a couple corkscrews filled in a nice little gap in the market, so to speak. Then added a swinging ship ride, or the swinging inverter ship I should say. That's something that was a bit of an afterthought. I wasn't really planning on doing that originally, but I think it just, I did need to get a little bit more income because I was spending money at a pretty frantic rate, and this is usually a pretty good profitable ride. You can charge pretty high amounts for it actually. So I just wanted to get that in there, just kind of at the back of Dynamite Blaster. It looks, I don't know, maybe a little bit awkward, but I also think it fills out that space reasonably nicely. I gave it the name Blasting Cap, which was also another great suggestion from Ryan M, so thank you very much for that. From what I read, it's kind of a equivalent term to the word detonator, so I may have doubled up on names there, but oh, whatever. I think it's a pretty cool sounding name and works well for a swinging inverter ship. And I guess the last major project that I kind of gave myself was making some modifications to Dynamite Blaster. Now that may well be considered blasphemy amongst some members of the RCT community, but if there was one thing maybe that I didn't like so much about the layout, it was that it didn't actually have any tunnels on one side of the kind of pit that it's in. And I also just wanted to include a bit of diagonal track there underneath the lift hill, and then the rest of the layout is pretty much the same, apart from a small change I made at the end, which was kind of a swoop turn down, back under, just after it crosses the station, into a couple helixes, then up into the final brake run. And the reason I kind of did that was because with the standard kind of turn and then drop, then turn around, it went through that a lot more slowly than the original design because I had extended the midsection just a little bit. So I felt like I had to go from a swooping turn up into another turn back down straight away. So that's kind of what my thinking was there. I also added in a little overbanked turning moment just across the top of the station platform as well. I thought that was a fun little addition. Probably picked up on the fact that I was constantly running out of money again, which just seems to happen to me a lot in these sort of builds, just because I do spend a lot on terraforming and scenery. As well as that, I was getting short on time to finish out all the things that I wanted to do. So I was using the pause technique that I've been adopting of late. So hopefully that's not too distracting for you to watch. And I finished off the park with a launched freefall just because I had a little bit of time just at the end there. And I ended up calling that TNT, which I thought was a pretty appropriate name with the Western sort of theme we were going with here. Anyway, I think I ended up getting just about everything that I wanted done. I completed the objective reasonably comfortably in the end. I definitely hit the advertising campaigns pretty hard, which is always a big help. Anyway, I think that's just about it for the build. For the next part of the video, I'm just going to kind of follow the trains on each of the coasters. So that'll be it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to hopefully seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much, and cheers. Bye.